Smart chargers promise instant convenience and grid-friendly power, but messy standards, legacy gear, and data chaos could turn that promise into traffic jams at the socket. This video shows how IoT harmonization, getting chargers, cars, grids, and apps to speak the same language can fix charging headaches, save billions in grid upgrades, and make EV ownership easy. We'll walk through the technology, OCPP, ISO 15118, IEC standard, the real numbers on chargers and sessions, and the hidden risks if devices don't agree, and the concrete steps cities, networks, and OEMs must take. Each part connects with a simple pattern. We can do this, but only if we standardize data, security, and incentives. Otherwise, the system breaks. Hello everyone, I'm Shayan, an engineer specialized in electric vehicle development. Where are we today? Huge growth, messy signals. Global charging capacity exploded in 2024. The world added more than 1.3 million public chargers, a jump of over 30% year over year. That kind of growth is stunning and necessary because the global EV fleet passed tens of millions of vehicles recently. But more chargers don't automatically mean smooth charging. Usage is growing faster than some networks can add ports. One major operator reported charging sessions rose roughly 34% in 2025, outpacing new port installation. That mismatch creates queues and user frustration, exactly the problem IoT harmonization aims to solve. The technology stack, the languages devices must share. At the heart of harmonization are protocols and standards. These are three big players you need to know. OCPP handles the talk between chargers and back-end systems, so operators can monitor, build, and control stations. ISO 15118 defines the secure handshake between the car and charger. That plug and charge magic and enables smart grid interactions like scheduled charging and secure identity. IEC 63110 is designed to let networks manage fleets of chargers and exchange data with grid operators. These standards each solve a slice of the problem, and together they can enable predictive charging, plug and charge convenience, and vehicle-to-grid services. But they overlap and evolve. And that's where the friction starts. Why harmonization matters? Real numbers, real pain. Imagine a busy station with 10 EVs arriving and only 6 working connectors. Smart scheduling could match arrivals to remaining battery needs, shave peak loads, and manage the grid hit, saving minutes and megawatts. Studies and utility reports show that managed charging can reduce peak distribution upgrades by tens of %. And that smart coordination reduces the need for costly transformer upgrades. The US Department of Energy maps these grid impact and highlights how managed charging is cheaper than building new capacity. But the actual savings hinge on devices being able to share the right data at the right time. Charger availability, real-time price signals, battery state, vehicle location, and user preferences. Without harmonized IoT, each vendor keeps its own key and format. And all the promise of the smarter charging stays locked in silos. The privacy and security angle. Standards like ISO 15118 builds cryptography into the handshake, so cars can authenticate securely and chargers can build automatically. That's convenient, but it also opens a risk surface. Misconfigured keys, rogue devices, or poorly updated firmware could let attackers impersonate charger or drain batteries. The risk is real. Researchers have demonstrated over the year how insecure IoT devices can be hijacked to cause outages. So harmonization must include security baseline rules, signed firmware, and certificate life cycles. The better the standards are implemented, the safer the whole network becomes. That weak implementations in a few vendors can undermine trust across the entire system. So who benefits and who loses from the harmonization? Cities and utilities gain the most. Harmonized charging means predictable load, which means fewer surprise upgrades and lower grid bills. Fleet operators save time and money because harmonized APIs let them route vehicles to optimal chargers and manage charging windows centrally. Studies from consulting firms show fleet adopting smart IoT charging reduce operational energy costs and increase uptime. But smaller vendors or legacy operators that can't or won't implement the standards risk being locked out of major roaming alliances and app ecosystems. Lack of harmonization can also concentrate power in a few big platforms that control access, raising competition and fairness issues. The fragmentation trap. We have protocol, standards, and plenty of pilot projects, but the market is fragmented. Many chargers still run proprietary stacks, many cars only support partial features of ISO 15118, and operators sometimes use older OCPP versions. The result is brittle interoperability. You can have plug and charge advertised on a network, yet still hit the station that won't accept your car's credential, or your app can't receive a socket in real time. That fragmentation creates 4 concrete problems. First, user friction and lost trust. Second, wasted energy and higher grid peaks. Third, security gaps from mixed firmware or keys. And fourth, stifled innovation because vendors spend engineering time mapping formats instead of building features. All of these problems are solvable, but they require coordinated policy, clearer certification, and commercial incentives. A path forward: harmonize data, certify devices, align incentives. First, harmonize the data layer. Use OCPP for station to cloud, ISO 15118 for car to charger, and IEC 6310 to connect operator clouds with grid control systems. When these 3 layers are implemented correctly, you can do things like predict charger queues, schedule charging during low price windows, and enable vehicle to grid when it helps the grid earn money. But data alone isn't enough. We need certification. Chargers and management systems must be tested against the interoperability suits and security baselines. Several industry groups and national labs are already building test beds and compliance programs. These need funding and regulatory teeth. Second, build economic carrots. Utilities should offer dynamic price signals or rebates for managed charging, and governments should fund early harmonization pilots. Real deployments show that when users see real savings and faster charging, adoption accelerates. When they see random failures, trust collapses. Third, make privacy and security first class. Certificate authorities and secure device onboarding must be standardized so every charger and car can trust each other without brittle manual stops. Tech advances that help AIoT and edge intelligences. IoT harmonization doesn't mean centralizing everything. Smart edge devices and AI can harmonize differing vendors' data locally, translating between formats and making fast decisions at the station level. Recent academic and industry work on the AIoT architectures show promise. Edge controllers can optimize charging sessions while reporting standardized metrics to cloud systems for billing and grid planning. That reduces latency and avoids overloading the network with raw telemetry. But edge intelligence also raises the bar for firmware security and update practices. Edge controllers need robust signing and rollback procedures to avoid becoming the weakest link. Real-world wins prove that harmonization works. Look at alliances building shared roaming and unified payments for users. They succeed when participants commit to common APIs, billing rules, and security. For example, multi-operator networks that pull chargers across countries show clear reduction in user wait times and improved utilization, proving the business's case for harmonization. Major industry moves to unify networks in regions demonstrate momentum for harmonized systems. But the real tipping point will be when regulators require minimum interoperability and security certifications for publicly funded chargers, and when utilities tie network upgrades to demonstrated and smart charging capabilities. That combination would force laggards to adopt standards quickly and would let the benefits scale. The short playbook you can act on today: standardized communication. IoT harmonization is not a single technology. It's a policy plus technology plus market package. We can build a smooth, scalable charging experience that saves money and supports the grid, but only if vendors, utilities, and regulators coordinate now. If they don't, we get islands of convenience in secure devices and a slow, expensive grid upgrades path.